All right, let's dive into this Arsenal City match. Everyone's been talking about it. You sent over a bunch of stuff, match reports, tactical breakdowns, even some opinion pieces. So where do we even begin?
I think the final scoreline tells a story, but we need to kind of dig a little deeper. See what really happened on the pitch. We had Arsenal, obviously hungry to topple City, right? And City trying to hold on to their crown. It was more than just 3 points at stake here. This match was about momentum, about psychology, about the future of these two clubs.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back to the Emirates.
Yeah.
The atmosphere must have been incredible. Yeah. And then bam, less than 2 minutes and Ødegaard finds the back of the net, assist from Havertz. And can you believe that start?
Talk about a statement. It was a real punch in the gut for City, you know? But the way it happened is what's interesting to me. It wasn't like this brilliant, Arsenal attack. It was a City mistake, a Kanji with a misplaced pass. Havertz picks it off, lays it off for Ødegaard.
Right out of the gate, City feeling the pressure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it played right into Arsenal's hands. They had the lead, the crowd's going wild, and they can just dictate the pace.
Now, one of the articles you sent me really focused on Arsenal's tactics, especially Partey in the midfield.
Yeah, Partey was everywhere. Winning tackles, intercepting passes, launching attacks. He completely disrupted City's rhythm, stopped them from controlling the game. It's not often you see City outplayed in midfield, but Arsenal, particularly Partey, they did just that.
So early goal, Arsenal controlling the midfield, things looking up for the Gunners, and then Havertz misses that chance one-on-one with Ortega.
Yeah.
What went through your mind when you saw that?
Honestly, I thought, here comes the momentum shift. You know those moments that can flip the entire match? A missed chance like that, it can deflate a team, give the other side a boost. But, and this is what impressed me about Arsenal, they didn't collapse. They kept their focus, maintained their shape, and continued to frustrate City.
They showed real resilience.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a theme with this Arsenal side. They don't crumble under pressure anymore.
Exactly. They've got this steeliness about them. They believe they can overcome anything. This isn't the same Arsenal that would fold under pressure. They absorbed City's pressure, waited for their moments, and then boom, they struck clinically.
Speaking of striking clinically, let's talk about Haaland's equalizer textbook, Haaland header. Powerful, unstoppable. Felt like a turning point, didn't it?
Oh, for sure. It felt like City were back in it. Haaland's always dangerous, and that goal gave them energy. But even with the goal, something was off. They weren't as sharp with their passing. Their movement wasn't as fluid. They were missing that City swagger,
You've talked a lot about tactical breakdowns, and one of the pieces you sent pointed to Rodri's absence as a big reason for City's struggles. Can you unpack that a little?
Well, Rodri is the anchor of that City midfield. He shields the defense, controls the tempo, breaks up attacks. Without him, there was this gap in front of their back four, and Arsenal exploited it. City's defense was suddenly exposed, and they just couldn't handle Arsenal's movement.
And just when City seemed to be back in it, Arsenal answers, not once, but twice.
First, you've got that deflected goal off Stones. Bit of luck there for Arsenal, gotta admit. But then, 2 minutes later, Lewis-Skelly, 18 years old, scores an absolute rocket. Ortega had no chance. The Emirates went crazy. That's when I knew City was in trouble.
Okay, let's break down those goals, starting with the deflected one. Lucky, yeah, but does it tell us anything about Arsenal's approach?
I think it shows they were taking risks, They were pushing forward, getting numbers in the box, causing chaos in City's penalty area. Sometimes you need a bit of luck. And they created their own luck by being aggressive and putting City on the back foot.
And then that Lewis-Skelly goal. On a scale of 1 to 10, how impressed are you?
Off the charts, man. It wasn't just the quality of the strike, it was the timing, the context. It put Arsenal back in the lead, silenced the City fans, and just injected so much belief into those Arsenal players.
You could practically see City deflate after that. And then, just when they thought it couldn't get worse, Havertz scores, makes up for that earlier miss.
And that goal really highlighted City's defensive issues, didn't it? He was just allowed to drift into space, receive the ball completely unmarked, and finish calmly. It wasn't a moment of individual brilliance from Havertz. It was a collective defensive lapse from City.
And it wasn't an isolated incident. Their defense looked shaky throughout the match.
Yeah, City's defense, which has been their foundation for so long, looked vulnerable. They were misplacing passes, losing one-on-one battles, and just struggling to cope with Arsenal's pace and movement.
It was a far cry from the impenetrable City defense we're used to seeing. And then to add insult to injury, another young gun, Ethan Nwaneri, comes off the bench and scores a beauty. Assist from Rice, final score, Arsenal 5, Manchester City 1. The scoreline that I think surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, it was more than just the scoreline, though, right? It was the way they won. Arsenal were just dominant from minute one to the final whistle. They outplayed City everywhere. It was a real statement, like a declaration of intent.
And we've got to talk about those young players, Lewis-Skelly and Nwaneri. It wasn't just the goals. It was their confidence, their fearlessness out there.
Absolutely. They played with so much maturity beyond their years. It's a real credit to Arsenal's academy and to Arteta as a manager. He's created this environment where young players can flourish, where they're not afraid to just go out there and express themselves.
One of the things I was reading talked about this new generation of players at Arsenal and how they represent a cultural shift at the club.
It's a culture of hard work, discipline, and belief in the system. Arteta's instilled this winning mentality, and these young players are embodying it. They're not just talented, they're hungry. They're determined to win trophies.
And you can see that hunger reflected in the fans, too. The atmosphere at the Emirates was electric. It felt like a real turning point for the club.
The fans have bought into Arteta's vision. They see the progress, they feel the excitement, and that connection between the team and the fans is so crucial. It creates this positive feedback loop where the players feed off the energy of the crowd and the crowd feeds off the energy of the players.
Yeah, it's a stark contrast to the City fans who just looked stunned. This is a team that's accustomed to winning, to dominating. To see them lose like that, it was almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a humbling experience for City, for sure. But, as one of the analysts said, every team goes through cycles. No team can stay on top forever. And maybe this defeat was a sign that City's cycle of dominance is coming to an end.
So is this the end of City's era and the beginning of Arsenal's? Are they the team to beat in the Premier League now?
It's too early to say, really. This was one game, even if it was a really impressive one. Arsenal have a long way to go if they want to be title contenders consistently. They need to maintain this level of play, stay hungry, avoid complacency, all that.
One of the pieces you sent said that this match exposed some weaknesses in City's squad, particularly in defense. What do you think?
There were definitely some defensive issues. The absence of Rodri played a part, but it wasn't just that City's backline just looked shaky. They were caught out of position several times and just couldn't deal with Arsenal's movement.
It was surprising to see a Pep Guardiola team make so many defensive errors. He's known for his tactical discipline, his team's defensive solidity.
And they usually are. But even the best teams have bad days. And maybe, as some people have said, City underestimated Arsenal. Maybe they didn't prepare for this match with the same intensity as they would for a game against, say, Liverpool or Real Madrid.
Complacency, huh? It can be dangerous, especially for a team that's used to winning. So what do both teams need to do to build on this result? What are the key takeaways?
Well, for Arsenal, it's about maintaining this momentum. They need to keep believing in themselves, keep working hard, keep developing their young players. They've shown they can compete with the best. Now they need to show they can do it consistently.
And for City,
they need to regroup, figure out what went wrong, and fix those defensive problems. They need to find their rhythm in midfield again and figure out how to get more out of their attack, even without Rodri. They're still a great team, but they need to learn from this defeat and come back stronger.
This deep dive has been really interesting. Tactical masterclasses, moments of brilliance, and a potential shift in the Premier League landscape. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on something we haven't really talked about.
Okay, what's that?
The mental side of the game.
Yeah.
We've talked about tactics, formations, individual performances. But what about the psychological impact of this result? How will this win affect Arsenal's confidence going forward? And on the flip side, how will this loss affect City's mentality?
That's a great point. This win will definitely give Arsenal a huge confidence boost, no doubt. It proves they can beat the best, their system works, and they're headed in the right direction. They'll go into their next matches with swagger, believing they can beat anyone.
And what about City? Will this loss shake their confidence, make them question themselves?
It's hard to say. Honestly, City have a strong mentality. They're used to bouncing back from setbacks, but this loss was different. It was a total defeat, a humbling experience. It exposed weaknesses they need to address.
Do you think there's a chance this loss could have a lasting psychological impact? Could it create doubt in their minds?
It's possible,
Yeah.
but it's also possible that this defeat will be a wake-up call, a reminder that they can't afford to be complacent. They need to keep pushing, keep evolving.
So it could go either way. This result could either motivate them or demoralize them.
Exactly. It all depends on how they respond, how they learn from this experience.
And that's what makes this match so fascinating. It's not just about the result. It's about the ripple effects, the long-term consequences. We've really gotten into the tactics. But it's obvious this match was a mental battle too. a real test for both teams.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see how they react moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. This could be a turning point for both clubs. Maybe it's the push Arsenal needs to finally go for the title, or maybe it's a wake-up call for City, something that motivates them to reach even greater heights.
It feels like we're seeing a shift in the Premier League. You know, the old guard is being challenged. New contenders are stepping up.
There's definitely that feeling, the old order is being shaken up, new powers are coming in. That's what makes the Premier League so great. It's unpredictable, it's dynamic, always changing.
And that unpredictability keeps things exciting for the fans. You never know what's going to happen next.
Exactly. Every match has a story to tell. And this one, this Arsenal-City clash, this was one for the history books.
Before we let you go, I got to ask, what's the one thing you'll remember from this match? The one image that sticks with you?
You know, it's those young Arsenal players, Lewis-Skelly and Nwaneri, celebrating their goals. They weren't just celebrating for themselves, it was this collective joy. You could tell they felt like they were part of something special. And that's what excites me most about this Arsenal team. They're not just playing for themselves, they're playing for each other, for the fans, for the badge.
It reminds you that football is more than just a game, right? It's passion, it's belief, it's a shared purpose.
Yeah, well said.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. Shock, excitement, disappointment, hope. It's why we love this sport. It can make you feel everything.
It's been my pleasure. Until next time.